mute. There's Jeff. There's Jeff. So we're good. We're quarantined.
We are.
Yeah, it is.
We got 2 minutes anyway, I think, still.
Yep. Piece of this truck, okay. You don't look like an undergraduate.
Oh, no.
Been there, done it.
Hey, George. I'm Andrew Fry.
Oh, yes. See your name on the trying to get on the board.
Expressed an interest. They said I should come on down and take a look.
Okay, great. All right, and Cameron says she'll be here in a couple of minutes.
Cool.
Cameron.
Excellent. All right, if she shows up, then we do have a quorum. Hey, how are you?
How are you doing?
How's everything?
Oh, thank you.
So we're just waiting for one more member here so we can actually get started with the quorum. Informal, do you have questions or anything that you would like us to answer before we actually get started? No pressure.
I guess, wait, who's on the board currently?
Well, we have 6 voting members, 6 voting members. I mean, they are on our board's website. And we are allowed to have 7 voting members, and we've been trying to recruit. We have this is Alpola, who recently joined us. I'm Bill Mendez. I've been chair for longer than I care to admit. And there is Jeff Frazier, the co-chair up there.
Hello.
And Cameron McBride will be joining us shortly. And another member apparently can't make it tonight. So.
Bill, is Keisha not coming tonight?
I couldn't raise her.
Okay.
That was too easy a question. Done. Yeah.
Excellent.
There's Keisha.
Oh, all right.
Mr. Chair, for this go around, before you officially start the meeting, I'm gonna ask you as a favor to ask your board members to introduce yourselves, brief background about what you guys do and your position on the board.
Sounds great.
Thank you.
We log in here to the meeting. Does not. Doesn't like me to join the work. I'm afraid I can't join the webinar for some reason here. I can't get on the webinar. Keep clicking and nothing happens.
I have to apologize for not having those plates. This
You
is
go
the most
ahead.
we've had in quite some time. Don't you get a feeling that you should bring food? I had that feeling today.
Trying to, there we go. There we go. Let's make sure there is no. Thank you. This- Share my.
Oh, Jesus, Mary and Joseph. Hey, Chief. While you're sending me voice, please.
There we are. And since you have started
Sign it to me.
a little late, as just so you know, the lady who is really in charge is Inez Gonzalez, who is our executive director. James Watson over there, the handsome guy, is the administrative assistant who serves on the board. Jeff, would you like to introduce yourself?
Streaming online right now.
Greetings. My name is Jeff Frazier. I'm in the, I'm at the end of my first full term. I joined midway through an unexpired term, and I am the vice chair of the board. I'm a retired psychologist.
Lakeisha?
Good evening. My name is Lakeisha Washington. I am also at the end of my first full term. I am a city rep, and I am also a Charlottesville native.
And Mr. Pola?
My name is Al Pola. I'm recently retired from many hats and recently appointed to the Police Civilian Oversight Board. And this is.
My name is, am I up?
You're up.
My name is Cameron McBride. I'm a Charlottesville resident and I am in the first year of my term. And I guess I'm an at-large member.
And as I introduce myself, I'm Bill Mendez. I'm the outgoing chair of the board. Been on the board for 5 years, like many folks. More or less recently moved into Charlottesville. That is about six years ago when my daughter, who is very civic minded, got me involved in looking at data about disproportionate arrests. And being a data scientist, I started looking at that and started going to meetings, and eventually ended up appointed to the board in late 2020. So that's where we're at.
Mr. Dillard, Brill?
Oh, sorry. Yes, sorry. You're behind me, George.
Yeah, okay. Hi, my name is George Dillard. I been on this panel for about a year. I am a retired law enforcement officer. I am a native of Charlottesville. I guess that's all I have to give.
Well, his insights have been extremely valuable to us. So thank you, George. Okay, now back to where we're at. Oh, yeah, so that's nice. So the first order of business we have is, after introducing ourselves, is to approve the agenda for this evening. Are there any objections or comments on the agenda? It's a relatively short one tonight. Hearing no comments or objections, the agenda is passed, approved. The second order of business, oh, I forgot announcements. If there are anybody have any announcements for the good of the board, or shout outs?
So Inez Gonzalez, the Executive Director of the Police Civilian Oversight Board. Some of you, all of you actually received emails from Mr. Walker, the Management Analyst, regarding the annual report. This will be our last request for you to provide pics, headshots, and a synopsis of, your bio. Let us a snippet of what you do and your position on the board, and anything else you'd like us to highlight. If we don't get it by the end of next week, it will not be included.
And I owe you a headshot, but I didn't.
Everyone, only one person complied.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so that we do want to have a spiffy, useful annual report. So please, I'll send in my headshot, and if other folks would do the same, I would appreciate it.
Inez, what was the additional information besides headshot and bio?
Headshot, bio, and if there's something that you wanted to highlight, something in particular that the board did or that you've done, you give us that. If not, the most important thing is your headshot and a bio.
All right. And the minutes were from the previous meeting in October were posted on the on our website when this meeting was announced. Are there any comments, amendments on the minutes? In that case, hearing no objections, I believe that the minutes have been approved. So, and now it's over to the Executive Director and or Management Analyst for their reports.
Share it on the screen too. Hey, Bill, can you stop sharing for a second? That way I can pop it up for everybody else.
Not sharing.
So just since we have more people here, my name is James Walker, Management Analyst for the PCOB office. And just what I'm showing here is kind of our first shot at a monthly report that will be repeated monthly. So it'll be for the prior month. November is showing October. And the goal is to get just a generic structure that we can continue to use for a monthly report. The goal is also to do quarterly reporting that is a bit more comprehensive, as well as obviously the annual report, which Inez had just mentioned about collecting some of those photos and bios from the board members so that that can be included in the annual report. And so just to run through the quarterly report, just have the purpose statement from the ordinance at the top there, and just the cover page showing what will be in the issue. And so each of those pages is covered below. And the reason I'm just kind of talking about it this time is because this is my aim for the structure going forward, and these will be posted on the website going forward as well. And so the main second page here is going to show citizen complaints. So at the top there, going to show complaints that we've received and complaints that Internal Affairs has received. Sometimes these overlap and they are the same complaint, but not always. However, any case that we receive also Internal Affairs has as well. So they can get complaints independent of us, but we can't necessarily get complaints independent of them, if that makes sense. And so you have no new cases in October for either of us. And there are currently 2 pending cases that came in through us, 4 pending from Internal Affairs, and 1 was closed in the month of October. And so one of the other things that Inez and I do on a regular basis is go over and observe and monitor interviews being conducted by Internal Affairs of officers from complaints. And so in the month of October, we did a bunch in September, and I just kind of went with October going forward, but that'll be captured in either a quarterly or an annual report. But monitored 2 officer interviews from 1 complaint in the month of October. And that closed case that you see up there at the top, here were the findings of that closed case. This is all public information that Internal Affairs shares. We just want to make sure we're documenting it as well. And so you had 3 items that were unfounded for constitutional procedures, biased policing, and canine usage, but 1 sustained complaint for audio visual recording. And so that's about all the depth that we go into of sharing here publicly those closed case findings from the complaint. And finally, on this page from the pending allegations, these are cases that are under investigation. So these haven't been sustained or unfounded or anything yet. These are just what is included in those complaints that are still pending. And you can see it's pretty split evenly from respect, unsatisfactory performance, constitutional procedures, excessive force, marked vehicle use, that's use of the police cruiser. And so these are all related to policies of the police general orders. And so that's what those naming conventions come from. They come from the general orders of the police department. All right, so this page will continue to just show those complaints month to month. I can't say that this is always going to be the exact structure, but it was a first attempt at making something that was useful. Second page could change from time to time, but one of the big things to highlight this month was professional development. There was a couple different things that were done, both by myself and by Ms. Gonzalez. And so she had attended the NACOL conference, which included all kinds of workshops and panels from around, and this is a national conference of oversight in agencies from around the country. And she was actually on a panel that they had presented on the critical role of board and commission member training, which I think is a very relevant thing for across the country. And then I participated in 2 different things, a mediation training with the Mediation Center of Charlottesville. And so one of the very last items in our ordinance is about mediation. And so this is kind of a pathway for me to actually become a certified mediator underneath the Virginia Supreme Court certification process. This was kind of the first step, and the Mediation Center can help me kind of complete that full course. A couple other steps to do, but hopefully that's something I can get under the belt that will help us. And then lastly, from Dago Law Group, they provide all kinds of courses, and this one was focused on accreditation. So the police department is accredited under CALIA standards. There's also some state standards as well, but this course went through that whole process, the standards, how the police department demonstrates proof of those standards. And so my goal here is just to start to understand that process so that I can observe and view how they are meeting those standards as part of that process. And that just gives us another lens into, you know, that accreditation, the steps of that. In fact, I think they just had the review recently where they actually came and did a walkthrough
Recertified.
and got recertified.
They're one of the few in the state that actually have accreditation. So
That's
it's
a good
big deal.
highlight
It's a
then.
big deal for Charlottesville, yes, for CPD.
And then lastly, just some operational highlights. These are just other things that didn't really fit in anywhere. So Ms. Gonzalez had participated in or is continuing its ongoing thing, the public safety strategic area planning team. So right now the city is doing strategic planning, developing goals and objectives, and we are represented there from the public safety side. And so some other items, community engagement. We did host here at City Space, Charlottesville Area Justice Coalition, which we meet with regularly, but they had a large group here. It's about 50 people actually. And it was focused on housing reentry for those who are coming out of incarceration. And so that was a really good time to kind of talk to different people from around the city. And then more recently, both of us have been doing interview panels with the police department, sitting on interviews for certified officers, for detective, for recruits. And I think I have another one coming up here next week or so. I think I'm on another one. And so that gives us a good opportunity to work directly with other command staff, sergeants and lieutenants who are also on those panels, but also have a voice in that recruiting process. And I know board members have done that before, and we weren't trying to take away that. So if you want to pick back up that process, let me know. It doesn't always have to be me or Inez doing that. It just, with some of the timing, it made it easier. And then lastly, just one of our outreach activities. We had, Ms. Gonzalez had met with the Daily Progress, who I believe is here, Ms. Carrier.
No,
Oh, sorry, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. We had also met with Legal Aid Justice Center during the month and talking to them about just how they can support the board and building trust and transparency in the community. So that's kind of the structure, and going forward, it's going to look something like that. Any questions about anything or things that you want to see included or not included?
Nice job, James. It's impressive. Good work.
Yep.
All right, well then I will stop sharing.
Oh, just one question. What's a closed case?
A closed case means that the investigation is complete and they've reached findings. And so that closed case, those cases are being closed when I define that by internal affairs. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. That was impressive. Appreciate it. Okay. Here. Okay. There in a moment. Okay. Okay, as you should know, last Monday, we had a work session to address a couple of technical issues, housekeeping issues for the board. We have been circulating documents around for comments, and I think we have taken a lot of those comments into account. The first one is a request for information for legal services. As you are aware, we don't have, since we decided that the current our past legal representative had a conflict of interest, we have had to search for a new one, and we have been advised by the current city attorney to release a request for information to get as wide as possible response as we can. On Monday, we talked about a lot of the issues associated with this document. I can go through it if you want, but everybody has seen it. And given that it is only it's only a request, it's only advice, I think that we should be fairly ready to vote on it. Does anyone have any questions about this document? Or, yeah, sure.
Okay, in section 3, subsection 3, conflicts of interest.
Yep.
In the second sentence, it gives examples of potential conflicts. And I think it could be more clearly stated. For example, the independent counsel cannot be a party adverse to the city. I think we need it to say cannot be or represent a party adverse to the city. There's a difference between being a party and representing a party when you're a lawyer. And then in the next line, it says, and cannot represent clients with matters before the board or professional organizations who are engaged in collective bargaining. And the way that's written, it could mean you can't represent clients with matters before the board, or also you can't represent professional organizations who are engaged in collective bargaining. Or it could mean you can't represent clients who either have matters before the board or are engaged in collective bargaining. So I would suggest that you say can't represent clients with matters before the board or represent professional organizations who are engaged, if that's what you mean.
Or, yeah, state a motion. Motion?
Yeah, well, okay, I would just move that we clarify the language the way I mentioned.
Any other discussion?
Second. Second.
Oh, second.
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? I personally think it's a good idea. I guess we can move the question. Jeff, how do you?
Yes.
How do you? Lakeisha?
Yes.
Al?
Yes.
And Cameron?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. So it is unanimous. So what I will do is I will make that change, if you'll email it to me,
Oh, sure.
and forward this to the city attorney, which is the next step in the process. Again, you know, there's gonna be a give and take, and I'll definitely, Ms. Cameron, keep you in the loop. So. All righty,
I think the point of order, Mr. Chairman, was that was a yes vote on the motion, correct?
yes,
So don't we now need a yes vote to approve the RFI to forward to the city attorney?
is that a motion?
It is.
I can second.
Second.
Any other discussions? Questions? Ms. Washington, in favor of sending it to the city attorney?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Yes. Al?
Yes.
Cameron?
Yes.
I do too. Again, another unanimous motion. Thank you for keeping us. We can appoint you as a parliamentarian, Al. That would be good. All right, we're good. So let me go on to the next issue here. All right, the other issue we addressed on Monday was amendments to section 2-453 of our ordinance, which prescribes membership requirements, appointment procedures, and other issues related to membership. We have discussed this. We discussed this in October, and I have again taken it upon myself to include comments from the members that I received. I'll just very quickly summarize the sort of the gist of what we wanted to accomplish. On Monday, there seemed to be a kind of consensus brewing here. One, we wanted to make the board appointments much more transparent and open, so that we would know when people applied to the board, and if they're refused membership to the board, that would have to be documented. And now that addresses the issue of the current appointment process, which is something of a black box. So all of the comments on sort of the first four comments relate to those issues, except for the third comment, which is taking out the requirement that this person have all kinds of complicated expertise like law, policy, police practices, and so on and so forth, so that it's clear that we are recruiting volunteer citizens and not academic experts. I think that language has kept some people from applying. The second thing that we did, which was of concern to most folks, was to retain the demographic requirements that there be 3 individuals from disadvantaged communities on the board whenever possible. And basically it says that they have to be. We've been trying to achieve that goal for a long time. The one change that I proposed was disadvantaged communities be changed to groups, because it's not a matter of your address. I mean, it can be a matter of your address, but that shouldn't be the only thing that keeps you off the board. And let's see. And the other thing that it does is we do not go with a priority system, which I suggested. It seemed that people were much more committed to maintaining the demographic requirements in sort of absolute terms. And so this document would do that. And just like the RFI, this is a suggestion that we forward to the city attorney and the city manager and the city council, and there will undoubtedly be back and forth. Oh, and Mr. Pola suggested, and I agree 100%, that we take out language related to confidentiality, which doesn't belong in that section at all. So it just should be moved, put somewhere else. And that the language on there was language grandfathering in the board members in 2021, and that's clearly no longer relevant. So that's out. Anything else you would think of now?
Did we keep the term limits in?
We the current version and this current version now says the board members should have 2-year rather than 3-year terms. And the reasons for that we discussed on Monday were maintain turnover where turnover is desirable. On the other hand, if we have, as a board that allows 2-year memberships, we can serve 4 terms for 8 years, rather than as a board which allows 3-year memberships, we can only serve 6 years. I think the consensus was that it would increase both flexibility and stability on the board, allow us to gather members who were committed and who wanted to educate themselves and stay involved. So, and again, this is a suggestion. The idea is we send it on to the city attorney. Any questions, comments?
Bill, I believe you mentioned this, but it's definitely mentioned in your comment to the document that you circulated. But just as the confidentiality provision doesn't really belong in the board membership appointment section, nor does subsection F, the records section.
Oh, yeah, those 2 sections are, yeah.
Right, okay.
So, and, we send that into the city attorney and she say, well, where should we put these? And well, we will say, well, we're working on it. This ordinance is not particularly well organized right now. Lakeisha or Jeff, any comments from the electronic world?
No.
No, it looks good to me, Bill. We talked about it on Monday, and I'm pleased with it as it is currently proposed.
George? Think this is suitable to you, do you think? Are you
talking to me?
Yes.
What was that, sir? I'm sorry, I was trying to do 2 things at one time.
That's all right. I was just wondering if you had any comments or questions about the amendments to the residential requirements.
No, not at this time, sir.
A motion to forward this on to the city attorney?
So moved.
Second, is there a second?
Second.
Second. Ms. Washington, are you in favor?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
Al?
Yes.
And Cameron?
Yes.
And the motion passes unanimously. Thank you all, because the city attorney and the city manager have been on us to get our act in gear and to start making recommendations and putting our house in order. And these are important first steps to do that. Now, on our agenda, all of that was sort of stuck. There was what it said was, if I can rub it down again. Yes. Hello. Try again. Okay, so we had amendments to enabling ordinance. One thing we talked about at our October meeting was that we very much need to do sort of a thorough house cleaning on our ordinance. Currently, there are inconsistencies. There are some contradictions. There are provisions that make it very hard for the executive director and for the board to do our jobs. And there's a lot of disorganization, like we have access to information scattered all over the document, and all that needs to be brought together. So I think we need a program to go through and reorganize sort of our document. And I have thought, I'll take thoughts, but I thought that I think the best way to do it might be for us to have a committee charged with developing ordinance amendments, which we could share with the whole board, and the board could vote or not vote on them. And I think we could do this informally, but I also dreamt up a motion here that basically lays out the responsibilities of a hypothetical committee. And just to summarize, what I think we should be doing is that this committee should be meeting more or less continuously. First off, address strategic issues related to major legal and procedural problems associated with the current document. And then over time, generate amendments. I'll let you, rather than just read that, I'll let you digest it for a while and then ask if there are any suggestions, comments. So the basic idea is that we have a ping pong action with the committee, throwing the amendments to the full board, every meeting, and then we go back and do some more, and we throw them another, and the full board gets to vote on the various amendments as they're generated. We could do this totally informally. I'm mean, I can call people up and say, Al, would you like to be on this committee? But do we think we need a motion like this?
Bill,
Yes.
I'm concerned if we just sort of do it on the fly, it'll get lost in the shuffle. And I feel strongly that we should formalize it as a way to get it done. I mean, this has been hanging on forever, and I feel like we need to really get the ball rolling.
Would it be up to the committee to? Go ahead, Keisha.
I'm sorry, I had a question. Can you explain a little bit more the purpose of having a chair for this committee? What separates their responsibilities from the rest of the committee members?
Well, at the last item is that we probably need a centralized liaison with the other organs of government, and that having a committee chair rather than just a member of the board might make that a little bit more manageable.
So serving as the liaison for those spaces would be solely that chair and not the chair and co-chair of our actual board, correct?
No, the idea is that over the next couple of weeks, people email in whether they want to volunteer or not. The first meeting occurs at a time that is convenient to them. I'll volunteer, just so you know that. So convenient to us. And they elect a chair and start thinking about procedures.
Right. So I'm saying that the elected chair for that committee, if they are serving as the liaison for spaces where they are communicating or sharing with, say, the executive director or our city attorney or city manager, like suggestions or things that we are trying to make changes to around those amendments or ordinances, will you or Jeff also be joining them or accompanying them in those spaces, or will they be the true representation for the board itself?
Well, first off, my term ends the end of December, so I won't be chair and beyond that. I would assume that whoever is chair of the board will interact with the chair of this committee. It could be that the committee chair and the board chair would be the same person. Does that answer sort of the question?
Yes, I was just trying to, because, you know, it really does look like a good idea to have this committee. I was just trying to make sure I understood the purpose of making sure we have a designated chair for this committee. That's where I was trying to go.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
all right, for clarification purposes. I think what Ms. Washington is asking is if, for example, she or any other member were to become chair of that committee, can they expect to have complete autonomy over that which is being moved forward, or can they expect for the chair of the board itself to intervene and override any decisions made by that committee and by that chair? Am I correct, Ms. Washington, and did I characterize it somewhat?
You did, thank you.
Well, I think that everything that the board does, everything that this committee does would need to be approved by the board as a whole. If the committee proposes a procedure or the committee proposes an amendment, that the board as a whole doesn't agree with, then we vote and we say, you know, try again. I think that, you know, in reality, I think the relations among us, among the current members of the board are such that a big power struggle is unlikely. Is that, I mean, is there any, should there be an amendment or? Yeah, I had always envisioned collegiality. I want somebody else other than me to do it. And you know, B, I want that person to have some power and influence.
I think it's fine the way it is. I think we move forward and start emailing you interest if anybody has interest in serving on this committee, and then we just move this forward.
Any other comments, questions?
Agree with Al.
Excuse me,
I agree with Al.
is there a motion?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
Ms. Washington,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Al,
Yes.
and Cameron?
Yes.
And the outgoing board chair votes yes, also to make it unanimous, and I'll make sure that that is entered into the minutes. And as I said, folks who are interested in being involved, you do contact me, and then at some point, probably not before Thanksgiving, we'll try and get together and start addressing some questions. Okay. Thank you so much. I think this is really very important. Okay, now at this point, it is, we are going to take up matters raised by the public, which basically means question and answer. Anyone have any questions right now? Remy, is there anyone on the line who is raising their hand?
We have one attendee. City Councilor Michael Payne, if he'd like to talk.
He does want to talk?
He doesn't have his hand raised.
Okay, well, he heard that.
Yeah.
That's important. Thank you, Councilor Payne, for attending tonight. All right, if there are no matters by the public, the next order of business is for us to adjourn. Is there any objection to adjournment? Hearing none, the board is adjourned. Thank you all for coming. And it is
Thank you.
7:20. Thank you all.
Thank you. Good night.
Thanks, Keisha.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.